All right, here are some more examples on solving quadratic equations by factoring. So remember in my last video, all my equations had been set equal to 0. So in this example, we're going to do the same exact thing. We're going to go ahead and bring this term minus 13y on both sides, and now we'll have y squared minus 13y equals 0. Now think about how you're going to factor this. It's not a trinomial, and it's not the difference of two perfect squares. In this case, you have a GCF of y, and so we'll take out y, and we'll have y minus 13. Now, just to double check, you can distribute this to make sure that it is this binomial. Y times y is y squared, and y times negative 13 is negative 13y. And then from here, we'll go ahead and do our t-chart, and we'll set each factor equal to 0. So we'll have y equals 0, and y minus 13 equals 0. And when we solve on the right-hand side here, we'll get a value of 13. So in this example, we have two solutions. We have 0 and 13. And you can go ahead and plug it in to do your check. The next example, similar to this, we have to set it equal to 0 first. So let's go ahead and do that. And we'll have 50x squared minus 2 equals 0. Take a moment to pause the video and think about how you would go about this problem. And if you thought to take out the GCF, that looks like it might work. And we'll have 2 times 25x squared minus 1 equals 0. And at this point, the binomial here is now the difference of two perfect squares. So we can go ahead and factor apart to 5x minus 1 and 5x plus 1. And so we do want to set each factor equal to 0, but we're going to go ahead and divide both sides by 2 to get rid of that coefficient right there, or that GCF of 2. And so we'll have 5x minus 1 times 5x plus 1 equals 0. And now setting each factor equal to 0 and solving, we'll have 5x minus 1 equals 0 and 5x plus 1 equals 0. And when you solve this, you'll have 5x equals 1. And divide both sides by 5, and we'll have x equals 1/5. And on the right-hand side here, we'll have 5x equals negative 1. I ran out of space, so I'm doing it on the right-hand side here. And we'll get x equals negative 1/5. That's when we divide by 5 on both sides, okay? And so we have two solutions. We have a positive and negative solution, positive, negative 1/5. Two solutions for x. All right, and we can go ahead and plug back in and check and make sure that's correct, and it should check out, okay? And finally, we have an example that looks like you might think to take out the GCF at first, but remember, that's not your first step in solving quadratic equations. We're going to go ahead and set this equal to 0 first. And once you set equal to 0, you see that it's not a GCF factoring problem. It's a trinomial, so we're going to go ahead and set up two sets of parentheses, and hopefully we can factor this. And in my next video, you'll see examples where you're unable to factor them, so you'll have to use quadratic formula. But for this one, factors of negative 20 that add up to be negative 1. Those factors would be negative 5 and positive 4. So you can do your quick check on the side. Make sure that negative 5 and 4 are factors of negative 20, and indeed they are. And make sure that negative 5 combines with a positive 4 is the middle term of negative 1. So you can see that it adds up to be the middle term n multiplies to be the last term. So a for addition and m for multiplication there. Now, we're going to take each factor, separate them apart, set it equal to 0, and solve. And so we'll have x equals 5. You can show this work right here if you want to, or you can see that once you've transposed that term to the other side, the sign will change. Okay, so we have two solutions here. We have -4 and a +5. And remember, this is called a solution set. They are not parentheses. Okay. All right. This is the end of the video. If you have any questions, you may put them in the comments.